The housewarming party was buzzing with laughter and chatter. Friends filled the living room, admiring the new decor. I stood by the window, a smile on my face, feeling proud of my new home. Suddenly, the door swung open, and my ex-wife walked in, her laughter echoing through the room. She was with a group of friends, but as soon as she spotted me, her smile vanished. "Congratulations on the house!" someone shouted, raising a glass. The room fell silent as her eyes widened in disbelief. I could see the shock on her face. This was the moment she realized I had moved on. I felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. How had we come to this? My name is Daniel. Looking back, our marriage seemed perfect. We were the couple everyone admired. I was 34, quiet, and responsible with money. My ex-wife, full of dreams, was the life of the party. We had been married for 6 years, and on the outside, we looked like a match made in heaven. Friends often praised us, saying we were the ideal couple. But beneath the surface, things were changing. I remember the early days, filled with laughter and love. We shared dreams and plans for the future. But as time passed, I noticed a shift. The admiration from others couldn't hide the cracks forming in our relationship. It started with small jokes. At first, they seemed harmless. "You're too comfortable," she'd tease, laughing with friends. But soon, those jokes turned into regular digs about my career. "You need to be more ambitious," she'd say, her tone light but her words sharp. I brushed it off, thinking it was just her way of motivating me. But deep down, I felt the sting. Each joke chipped away at my confidence. I began to wonder if she truly respected me. The laughter of our friends echoed in my mind, but I felt more alone than ever. Then came the day she announced her big dream, starting her own business. At first, I was excited for her. She was passionate and driven, and I wanted to support her. But soon, her obsession with success took over. "Help me with the finances," she insisted, her eyes shining with ambition. I agreed, wanting to be supportive. But as the weeks went by, I noticed her focus shifting. It wasn't just about the business anymore, it was about luxury and appearances. She wanted to show the world we were successful, and I felt the pressure mounting. One evening, we attended a dinner party at a friend's house. As the night went on, Lauren stood up to speak. "I'm the one carrying this marriage financially," she announced, laughing. The room erupted in laughter, but I felt my face flush with humiliation. I sat there, frozen, as her words hung in the air. Friends looked at me, some with pity, others with disbelief. I wanted to defend myself, to explain the truth, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I forced a smile, feeling smaller by the second. After that night, I started noticing strange things. Money was disappearing from our accounts. I checked our bank statements, puzzled by the unexplained expenses. It seemed like every week there were new charges tied to her business. I confronted her, but she brushed it off. "It's just the cost of starting up," she said, waving her hand dismissively. I wanted to believe her, but a nagging feeling in my gut told me something was off. I began to dig deeper, determined to uncover the truth. One evening, while going through our financial records, I stumbled upon a shocking discovery. Lauren had opened a business credit line using our shared financial information without telling me. My heart raced as I realized the implications. I confronted her again, my voice shaking. "You didn't tell me about this," I exclaimed. She shrugged, looking unfazed. "It's just business," she replied, her tone casual. But I felt the weight of her actions. This was more than just a financial decision, it was a betrayal. As I continued my investigation, I uncovered more secrets. Lauren had taken out personal loans and credit cards to keep her struggling business afloat. Each discovery felt like a punch to the gut. I felt trapped in a web of lies. How could she do this to us? I thought about our dreams, our plans, and how quickly everything was unraveling. I knew I had to protect myself, but I felt lost and alone in this battle. Worse than the debt was the story Lauren was telling everyone. She painted me as the villain, claiming I was the reason our finances were failing. Friends began to distance themselves from me, believing her version of events. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. The more I tried to explain, the more they believed her. I was losing not just my marriage but my reputation as well. I knew I had to gather evidence to show the truth, but I felt overwhelmed. Then came the day I never expected. Lauren filed for divorce, claiming she was tired of supporting a broke husband. My heart sank as I read the papers. It felt like a betrayal on top of betrayal. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but I knew I had to stay calm. I couldn't let her drag me down any further. Instead, I focused on gathering the evidence I needed to protect myself. I wouldn't let her narrative define me. As the news of our divorce spread, so did her version of events. Friends who once admired us now looked at me with suspicion. I felt isolated, like a ghost in my own life. Every conversation felt strained. I tried to explain, but the more I spoke, the more they believed her. I was losing everything: my marriage, my friends, and my sense of self. It was a dark time, but I knew I had to keep fighting. Instead of arguing publicly, I began gathering evidence quietly. I collected bank statements, emails, and financial records. Each document told a story, revealing the truth behind the lies. I spent hours piecing everything together, determined to show the real story. It was exhausting, but I felt a sense of purpose. I was no longer just a victim. I was taking control of my narrative. I sought legal advice, meeting with a lawyer who understood my situation. "Stay calm," he advised. "Let the facts protect you." His words gave me hope. I didn't need to escalate the drama. I just needed to let the truth come to light. With his guidance, I felt more confident. I was ready to face whatever came next. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but I was determined to reclaim my life. The divorce was finalized, and I found myself starting over. It was a strange feeling, both liberating and terrifying. I moved into a small apartment, trying to rebuild my life from scratch. Lauren continued to tell people I ruined her finances, but I refused to let her words define me. I focused on my job, my health, and my happiness. It was time to put myself first. Just when I thought things couldn't get better, an unexpected opportunity arose at work. A promotion was available, offering a significant salary increase. I had always been cautious, but this time I decided to take the leap. I applied, pouring my heart into the process. I wanted to prove to myself that I could succeed on my own. The excitement of the possibility fueled my determination. I was ready for a fresh start. I dedicated myself to rebuilding my finances. I paid down debt, saved aggressively, and lived quietly. Each small victory felt like a step toward reclaiming my life. I learned to appreciate the little things: a quiet evening at home, a walk in the park, or a good book. I was finding joy in simplicity, and it felt good. I was no longer defined by my past. One day, I spotted a property investment opportunity in an up-and-coming neighborhood. It felt risky, but I decided to take the plunge. I had worked hard to rebuild my finances, and this could be a game changer. I researched, calculated, and finally made the investment. It was a leap of faith, but I felt a sense of excitement. This was my chance to create something new, to build a future for myself. Meanwhile, Lauren's business began to struggle. The loans and debt she had accumulated started catching up with her. I heard whispers from mutual friends about her financial troubles. It was a strange feeling. Part of me felt sympathy, but another part felt vindicated. I had worked hard to rebuild my life, while she was facing the consequences of her choices. During financial proceedings related to her business, documents revealed the truth. It became clear that she was responsible for most of the debt in our marriage. Friends who once sided with her began to question her narrative. I felt a sense of relief. The truth was finally coming to light, and I hoped it would help restore my reputation. I had fought hard for this moment, and it felt good to see justice served. As the truth spread, friends began reaching out to me. They realized the reality of the situation and wanted to hear my side of the story. It was a turning point. I shared my experiences, my struggles, and my journey to rebuild my life. They listened, and slowly, the narrative began to shift. I felt a sense of validation, knowing that I wasn't alone in this fight. My investment paid off, and I was able to purchase a beautiful new home. It was a symbol of my hard work and determination. I stood in the living room, taking it all in. This was my fresh start, my victory. I had rebuilt my life from the ground up, and it felt incredible. I was no longer defined by my past. I was creating my own future. A mutual friend suggested hosting a housewarming party for me. I hesitated at first, but then I realized it could be a great way to reconnect with old friends. I accepted the invitation, excited yet nervous. As the day approached, I prepared for the party, eager to show everyone my new life. I wanted them to see how far I had come. It felt like a celebration of my journey. On the day of the party, I was surrounded by friends, laughter filling the air. Then, to my surprise, Lauren walked in, not realizing whose house it was. She continued to chat, repeating her old story about escaping a broke husband. I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and a sense of triumph. She had no idea what was about to unfold. As the party continued, someone raised a glass and thanked me for hosting. "Congratulations on the house," they said, and the room fell silent. Lauren's face turned pale as she realized the home belonged to me. The laughter faded, replaced by an awkward silence. I could see the shock in her eyes, and for a moment, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I didn't confront her or embarrass her. Instead, I continued enjoying the party, surrounded by friends who now understood the truth. As I reflected on my journey, I realized that rebuilding my life had become the greatest response to everything she had said about me. I had turned my pain into strength, and that was my true victory.